Up+Adam.
Tractor systems are offline.
We are Beyond FM.
Beyond FM.
The future of broadcasting is here.
Up+Adam with Adam Montiel. It's community content from Concentrate. It's Up+Adam with Adam Montiel.
Some say life is where it begins. Straight to the stars is where it ends. Yes, some say life is just where it begins. Straight to the stars is where it ends. Only to start again.
Well, thanks for being Up+Adam. Here we are, smack dab, middle of the week. My name is Adam Montiel. Wednesday, hump day. Let's go. Excited about today's show. This guy. And I am going to break down the Carissa drama because there was more of it, and I actually did some research, so I have a little bit more. I can at least kind of open the can a little bit, air it out, see what's up. But that is not the point of today's show. We actually got a great guest for today's show. Timothy White. This guy has spent more than 4 decades photographing the people who helped define modern culture. I mean, he is the photographer of the celebrities. Brad Pitt, Harrison Ford, Aretha Franklin, Angelina Jolie, Whoopi Goldberg, Jay-Z, Michael Jackson, Dolly Parton, Julia Roberts, Robert Williams, and hundreds more. There's this great picture he took of Elizabeth Taylor giving like double fingers as she's getting out of a car. Just magic. But his like studio pictures, like this one of Usher and his like new baby. This guy, like Timothy White, like there are celebrity photographers, there are famous photographers, and then there's Timothy White. All right. And shoot, his images have lived on like magazine covers, movie posters, album jackets, and in the collective memory of I know you've seen his pictures, is the point. What makes his work though so distinct isn't just access, it's his ability to get past the fame, past the pose, and find something really human in a face the world already thinks, at least, that they know, right? So later, Timothy is going to join me to talk about his new memoir. It's called Life Through My Lens. It's going to be hard for me not to say Jimothy when I'm talking to a Timothy while Jimothy is, blowing up the internet. If you don't know, Google Jimothy, you'll see what I'm talking about. But this today, it's not a roll call of what was it like to shoot Brad Pitt or what was Michael Jackson like? No, this is a conversation about the craft beneath the celebrity, how he builds trust, how he cuts through vanity, how he puts his own fingerprint on an iconic face, and why he says the real truth in a photograph is the photographer's truth, not even so much the subject. Timothy White coming up in just a few minutes on Up+Adam. I could not be more excited. Great chat. Looking forward to it. All right. A couple little headlines. One, if you're a woman in your 30s who's been thinking, why am I suddenly hot, exhausted, irritable, or just not feeling like myself? Well, you're not alone. Interesting article, new research challenging the long-held belief that premenopause, I guess it's called perimenopause. Forgive me if I get any of this, I'm a guy, so I'm just trying to forward the story because it was an interesting story. But the long-held belief that perimenopause doesn't start until your mid to late 40s. Some new research is challenging that. Well, the average woman still enters perimenopause around, say, 47, reaches menopause by about 51. Researchers say many women are reporting some of the classic symptoms years earlier. We're talking about things like hot flashes, irregular periods, mood changes, problems sleeping, brain fog, fatigue. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean a woman in her 30s is in full perimenopause, but it can mean, and it does mean, experts are encouraging women not to dismiss these changes or assume, I'm just stressed. Because for years, a lot of women were told, well, you're too young for that. New research is suggesting that the conversation, it might need to change. The big takeaway here isn't that science has suddenly rewritten menopause. That's not the point. It's that women might be experiencing the earliest hormonal changes maybe a little sooner than many of us realized. So if that sounds familiar to you or someone that you know, it might be worth having a conversation with your doctor, because sometimes the hardest part isn't the symptoms. It's kind of spending years wondering why no one believed that they were real, I guess. So I think a news story like this, at least the way I read it, even being a man, was like, that's interesting, because that could be like the way we kind of configure the way we think about, and the way that certainly women in that age group think about this. So I thought it was interesting nonetheless. Okay, you ready for the Carissa drama? We told you about the last couple of days, the folks at the Carissa downtown, they're crashing out, the new owners on social media, and these social media, like, you just wish, like, if they had a nugget of like crisis management acumen, or at least like, I mean, does your lawyer know that you're posting some of the shit on social media? Now, you might want to skip this Carissa drama altogether. It's okay, no judgment. You want to go right to the Timothy White interview? Just go to minute marker 1850. But I reached out to them for an interview, and I was like, God, am I going to regret this? I put out a thing to interview them, and I haven't even heard back. This was yesterday, so maybe they're not interested. They've turned off their comments, so they really just want to spout all of this drama. And look, Reddit, everyone, I mean, the people I'm talking, everyone's here for it. We're all reading it. We're all going like, what the absolute is going on with the people at the Carissa? And they might even have a case, a story, a point, but the way that they're kind of behaving, people are just scratching their heads. So I dug a little bit. We have 2 lawsuits. Okay. I'm going to break this down. It's going to take a second, but I'm going to break it down. You are going to know more about this drama than I promise anyone else. Listen to this. And I hope I'm getting this right. And anyone can correct me, especially the parties involved. We have 2 lawsuits, $1 million sale, and apparently a missing landlord's signature that no one is talking about. And really, one brutally uncomfortable introduction. This is good. Everything here comes from allegations and court filings. None of these claims have been proven, and we've not yet seen formal responses from even everyone being accused. So first, the players. You got Westpac Higuera. They own the actual building at 736 and 738 Higuera. Okay. Then you have RJH Investors. We'll call them RJH. That's the entity associated with longtime Slow Brew former operators Hamish and Rodney, right? So when you hear RJH, that's who you know. That's who you're thinking of. RJH used to own the building. In 2017, it sold the property to Westpac and immediately leased the entire thing back. Basically, RJH sold the house, but then continued living in it as tenants, if that makes sense. The master lease contained one very important rule. RJH could not sublease the property or allow another company to operate there without Westpac's written approval. All right, keep that rule in your back pocket. Now meet Kent Wells, Brian Wilson, not the Beach Boys, Brian Wilson. Those are the new operators behind Wilson and Wells and another company called 3PM Group. Those are the same people. One operates the Carissa, one operates the Lofts. In 2025, they found the Carissa restaurant, bar, and the boutique hotel business, the Lofts, advertised for sale through Restaurant Realty and a broker named Keith Simpson. The transaction was divided into 2 pieces. Following me? 3PM Group purchased the Carissa and the bar, that operation, from Slow Brew for $25,000. Wilson and Wells, same people as 3PM, just a different entity, purchased the Slow Brew Lofts upstairs. They purchased that for $975,000 from RJH, right? Combined price, you get it, $1 million. That split sounds insane until you look at it closer. The Carissa's price was allocated at $10,000 for goodwill and $15,000 for the liquor license. The Lofts agreement placed $956,000 of its value on goodwill, meaning the business, its name, reservations, reputation, and ability to continue operating, right? And that last part is where the goodwill gets bad. Wilson and Wells says everyone knew Westpac's written approval was required. Follow this. They claim they completed an introduction form for Westpac that RJH, Hamish and Rod, repeatedly assured them landlord approval had been obtained. This is what they say. They even allege RJH said they were a significant stakeholder. Specifically, they say Hamish said he was a significant stakeholder in Westpac, so approval wouldn't be an issue. The buyers closed. They signed the 2 subleases, one for the restaurant, one for the hotel, each calling for $20,000 a month plus triple net expenses. They began making purchasing payments, claim they invested another $400,000 into renovations. They say they did. Then in February, a disagreement developed over those triple net charges. Kent Wells contacted Westpac directly, believing the building owner would know the correct amount. And that is when, according to the lawsuit, the entire transaction dropped its pants. Pretty much, it was like, hi, Westpac, we're your new subtenants. Westpac pretty much says, and I'm paraphrasing, who are you? We never approved you. Again, that's my paraphrase. But Wilson and Wells, they allege Westpac did not know who they were and had never approved their either sublease of theirs. Westpac then declared RJH in default, filed the first lawsuit. Okay, Westpac now is in the mix. They say that RJH and the entity secretly subleased the property and sold business assets covered by Westpac's security interest. Westpac wants the sublease, the asset transfer declared null and void. It also wants a receiver who could collect rent and protect this disputed property. So now Wilson and Wells, they filed a separate lawsuit against RJH and even Keith Simpson, from what I understand, Hamish, Rod, individual, all of it, right? Their argument is essentially, look, we paid for 2 operating businesses, spent hundreds of thousands of dollars approving them, and were assured the landlord had approved everything. Now the landlord says, we may not even have a valid right to be here. Now, yes, that's a compelling story, but then you look at their own documents. The subleases identify Westpac as the master landlord. Check, okay? They say Westpac's approval is required. They include a dedicated signature block for Westpac's consent. That signature block appears blank. Facepalm emoji. Yeah. So here's the uncomfortable question. Why would anyone close $1 million deal, sign 2 $20,000 a month subleases, and begin a $400,000 renovation without the one signature protecting their right to occupy the building? That does not automatically defeat their fraud claim, no, but they could still argue that they relied on repeated assurances from RJH and the broker, but that blank signature, that might be their steepest uphill climb. Then there's a bizarre contradiction in the sublease. Listen to this. One provision says Westpac's consent is not a condition of the buyer's obligation to pay rent. They must keep paying unless a court actually stops them from operating. All right. It even says RJH must defend them if Westpac sues. But the very next language says the sublease is not effective unless Westpac signs it within 10 days. So one part says keep paying until a judge stops you. The next says the deal does not work without the landlord's signature. So those two sentences are not exactly enjoying a healthy relationship. There's also a problem involving business assets. Wilson and Wells claims the sellers failed to disclose Westpac's right to the property being sold, but the purchase agreement expressly mentions an alleged encumbrance under the master lease. So Wilson and Wells may have trouble claiming it knew nothing about Westpac's potential interest. Their stronger argument is we knew the master lease existed, but RJH told us Westpac had approved the transaction. That makes the text, the emails, the introduction form extremely important. Who said what? Who sent what to Westpac? Did anyone actually say written approval had been signed? And why did nobody ask to see it? So who here has the uphill battle? Now, Westpac might be the cleanest in the cleanest position. Its lease required written consent. So far, no one has produced it. Wilson and Wells might have the most, I guess you can call it sympathetic position. They claim they paid real money, invested another $400K, and they were blindsided. That's what they say. But their own documentation may have been warning them the whole time. RJH may face the most dangerous factual questions. Did they say Westpac approved the deal? Did they claim they had ownership or influence inside Westpac? And why did they execute subleases requiring landlord consent without the landlord's signature? The broker might even have to explain how $1 million business sale reached closing without anyone confirming that the buyer could legally remain in the building. So this whole thing is a giant cluster, you know what? Based only on the allegations and the documents, this may not be a story with one person holding the entire bag of stupid. I don't know that it is. If RJH misrepresented Westpac's approval, that could be a central wrongdoing. If the broker failed to verify the most important condition of the sale, that seems to be like a professional oops. And if Wilson and Wells closed without demanding the one signature required directly on their own documents, that looks like a serious due diligence failure. And it looks like the same kind of what we're seeing on their social media. Like, what's going on here? So several sophisticated people reached $1 million closing without apparently verifying the single fact holding the entire freaking deal together. Does the actual owner of the building approve? That's the question. Because goodwill may be worth $950,000 on paper, but goodwill can't unlock a building you may not have the legal right to occupy. Does that make sense? So that, I know that was a mouthful. That was a damn mouthful. But now you know what's going on. You know that drama. It's unfolding. And you're going to see people start writing about this now, whether it's the Tribune or Calco's, maybe KSPY. That, I hope they break it down like that, because that's the story. That's when you read those two court cases, what is alleged. So happy to be corrected on anything and happy to get the parties involved. I would love that. I honestly would love that. All right, let's get into our conversation with Timothy White. That took far too long, but it had to be spelled out. I knew it was going to take a minute. Want to thank my friends at Benny's Pizza. I could use some of that with ranch right now. After all that, my goodness. I love Benny's Pizza, Detroit style, which is that thick, crispy pan-fried crust. Sometimes they do the sauce on top, and I thought I'd be against that. I'm okay with it. I like it. I still am a sauce on bottom because I'm a normal, warm-blooded human being. But I'm down for the sauce on top here now. I kind of got converted. They do great stuff, including their happy hour, 4:30 to 6:30 every day. 3.5 domestic cans, $2 off premium beer and wines, plus food specials that just hit the spot. Love my friends at Benny's Pizza. Hit them up, order up, 439-3838. Benny's Pizza, Upper Monterey, San Luis Obispo. Also want to tell you about our friends at the Paso Robles Distillery Trail. These guys are getting ready for their big Distillery Trail weekend. Now, we are leading the way. You got to know this. We are leading the way in distillers in the state of California. We had the first Distillery Trail. This weekend is something certainly impressive. It's August 7th through 9th. They got that copper card, which is incredible. You get tastes and experiences and things going all over. I want you to go to PasoRoblesDistilleryTrail.com, learn all about Distillery Trail Weekend in the August 7th through 9th. Learn about the copper card, learn about all these incredible producers right in your own backyard. It's really incredible stuff. Again, PasoRoblesDistilleryTrail.com.
It's Up and Adam with Adam Montiel.
All right, for more than 4 decades, Timothy White has photographed the people who shaped the way we see pop culture. Brad Pitt, Harrison Ford, Aretha, Angelina, Whoopi, Jay-Z, MJ. I mean, Robin Williams, Julia. How should I keep naming them? You get it. Like pretty much every person who's famous, back to like Elizabeth Taylor. And this guy's been doing it for a while. And these were covers of like Vanity Fair magazine, Rolling Stone, Esquire, movie posters, album covers. I mean, his photos are in museums. But I didn't want this to be a laundry list of what it's like. What was it like to shoot Brad Pitt? And you're not going to hear that in the interview. I wanted to kind of understand the craft, the psychology of it, and the real human connection that lets him find something new in a face that we already know. His new memoir, Life Through My Lens, turns that same eye inward for the very first time. Timothy White, the one, the only, this guy. Welcome. Thank you so much for being Up and Adam.
I don't want to interrupt your start or anything, but I was given an award at the San Luis Obispo Film Festival years ago.
What year was this?
I don't know. I got to look back, but it was. I was given the award at the Hearst Castle, actually. So it was kind of a big deal up there.
It's
I
huge.
flew into the airstrip, and it was kind of a big deal, actually.
That's
They had
awesome.
the IMAX theater, and Harrison Ford presented the award for me. It was really kind of cool.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, the San Luis Obispo International Film Festival is fantastic. I've worked with them for a lot of years, and Hearst Castle happens to be like my favorite place on earth. I figured out a way to get engaged up there and swim in the pool a few times. So no, that's magic,
Really?
dude. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh my God, how cool. What a great story. So yeah, was that the last time you were up here?
No, I go up to Big Sur a lot, and I drive up, so I always pass through.
Nice.
I live in Beverly Hills, so
Cool.
that's my hood.
Do you drink wine?
Oh, I do.
Oh my goodness. Well, we have to have some conversations about that. I actually have a question coming up in a few minutes that is literally, because I do a wine show as well, and it got me thinking about the way you shoot and the way winemakers use vineyards. So I'll get to that in a second. But what I want to ask you first, Timothy, your job has always required you to like zero in, look closely, notice that hesitation in someone, the shift in their posture, the second, that moment when the public persona for a second leaves the room. But in the memoir, and I love this, you admit that you had never studied yourself with that same intensity. After a lifetime of revealing other people, what frightened you the most about finally becoming your own subject?
Well put, Adam. I think just reversing the lens and pointing it at me and really committing to that was a challenge. But I've been kind of a self-aware guy and really self-explored most of my life. So while I'm experiencing all these wonderful career opportunities, I'm also dealing with things in life that we all do. And in doing so, it made me really reflect on how I handle things. And I think that repeated itself over the course of my life as I explored myself, and it felt right in putting it together and turning the lens on myself this time and kind of looking at that that connection, between my career and my personal life.
A camera, such a tricky instrument because it's this tool of intimacy, but it can also be a beautiful and respectable place to hide. And you could stand inches from another human being while remaining safely behind the equipment. Was photography your way into the world, or for a long time, maybe your most elegant way of avoiding yourself, anything?
I'm not so sure that's the way I feel, because my approach to it is it's not really, even though we're talking about, pointing the camera at myself as opposed to pointing it at others, I never really looked through the camera at what I was doing. I looked at people. I looked at their eyes. The camera became an object in front of me. In fact, other than focusing, I rarely looked through the lens. I'm looking at the person's eyes that I'm working with. I'm trying to connect with them, whether it be verbally or whether it just be through our body language or really just through trying to read them. I often say that I'm more a psychologist than I am a photographer. I'm just reading people and trying to figure out, do I have them? Have I lost them? Are they with me? Are they along for this ride with me? Have I cut through the vanity that is interrupting the connection between the two of us? And then I'm looking for that moment. So, I'm not so sure that I saw myself hiding behind the camera as much as having this amazing go life experience that I didn't get a chance to really look at myself.
I love what you say there, because I find that same thing like with interviews, and you write in the book that your real stock in trade was not just like that technical ability merely. It was the communication. You talk about that psychologist, right? Finding that common ground, lowering the temperature a little bit. What do you offer someone in those first minutes that tells them, okay, you're safe enough to stop being the version of you that everyone expects?
there's a cool factor that I walk in the room with, and it's sort of innate. It's not like it's contrived or something that I'm putting on. But I remember once working with Dustin Hoffman and Susan Sarandon. And Susan and I had known each other for many, many years, and we did a lot of photo shoots together, and Dustin Hoffman was not. And at one point, we hadn't worked together before. And I walked in the room, and during the middle of the shoot, while I'm shooting Dustin, he turned and he goes, "Why are you so comfortable? Do you realize the level of talent you have in this room?" He was making a joke, and Susan was like, "Oh, fuck, Timothy, I've known him forever. He's this and that." So there's a comfort and a comfortableness that I bring into the room that I think people respond to. And again, it's innate. I don't know what it is. It's just it works for me, and that's how I built a career.
When I was a kid, I did karate, and I was doing a tournament in Malibu, and so was Dustin's kid. And he came up to talk about making people comfortable. It was a forms competition. I was the only one in it, so pretty much I was like performing for everyone, and then I was just going to get first place. It was kind of like, but I was very nervous because of this. And normally you compete against different people, and then I would much rather preferred that. And he comes up to me, and he didn't know me. I was just a kid, and he just touches my stomach. He goes, "You're gonna go get him good. Go get him good." It was really sweet, and it eased me. I'm like, "Oh my God, that's the guy from the movies," and he just said something nice to me. So making somebody comfortable. Yeah.
Touch, not even physically, right? But just touch in some way or another can change everything. Look, we're all just, and we all just want to connect in some way. So if you can, and I think that's kind of what I was trying to say too. The camera can be this disruptive object between you and a subject. So if there's a way to connect, past that machinery that blocks between you, then that's the way to get to somebody as quickly as you can.
You built a life around speed, and I loved what you talked about your father. I just lost my dad last month, and reading about yours, in some of these ways, I kind of like likened it to what I went through, in the fact that love was present, but disclosure was limited. And your father's health crisis forced you into a different kind of time, hospital time, family time, mortality time. What became visible about your father, about you, and it only happened when life forced you to zoom in?
Yeah, I mean, look, again, it goes by really fast, and I think we all take so much for granted in our lives. And when my father had some health issues, there was a quick epiphany of mortality, and not just in his, but all of us. And that might have even started me on a deeper path of self-reflection. And, it certainly made me appreciate him, and started to really see how who he was made me who I am. And I'm pretty proud of that.
I read in there you keep a small crumbled note beneath your keyboard that says, "This could be the last time." Such a simple sentence, but it's brutal philosophy. Has that sentence made you more present? How has it been a tool? And how has it made every beautiful moment? Carries a little grief inside of it, but also it's encouragement, I feel.
Yeah, I would agree. Look, I think presence is a really big word. And I try and be as present as possible. And I know that sounds lofty and maybe even self-centered to a degree. But look, I've watched a lot. I've seen a lot in my life, and so many highs and some great lows. And it really makes me stop and smell the roses. I mean, that tree outside my window was there before me, and it'll be there after me. And so if I don't sit and enjoy this moment and stop looking at my phone, and really not just be present with the people around me, but then related to this book, also look at myself, and try and put it in context of all that, then I'm squandering the time I have.
Mm-hmm. I talked to you earlier about wine, and I do a show called Where Wine Takes You, and it's the idea of like a winemaker being able to get these grapes from this vineyard, whether it's like, James Berry Vineyards, Biennacito, a very famous vineyard. But then the winemaker has their own independent fingerprint that gets put on that as they try and stay out of the way and just steward this service. You photograph people we already know, or at least we think we know, maybe parasocially. Brad Pitt walks into the room carrying all these magazine covers and movie posters, red carpets. But when the face is already iconic, how do you kind of put your own fingerprint on that human being underneath it?
I try not to look too much at people's professional persona or what's out there really on them. I mean, yeah, I'm aware of pop culture and it's certainly my business, but I don't really do a deep dive into that. I'm not really aware of all of that stuff. I like to engage with people in general, whether they're professional, whether they're celebrities, or whether it's the grocer on the corner or the janitor in my building. It's I try and just relate to people as people, and that seems to give me the best opportunities to connect with them and to find something true about them without having any prejudice or walking into a situation with a certain preconceived notion of who somebody is. And that allows me to find a piece of them that's my own piece that I help bring out.
You know, Timothy, I'm supposed to wrap now. I know I'm last. Do you think I could ask you 3 extra quick questions? Would that be all right for your time?
Adam, I've got hours for you, whatever you need.
You're so kind. Look, there's a difference between collaboration, also like creative gridlock. And I'm so curious, like when that subject wants control of the picture, how do you honor a person's insecurity without allowing insecurity to like art direct the entire shoot?
I look at it like shopping for Christmas. One for you, one for me. You know?
Yeah.
So I try and accommodate. Look, you get more with honey than you do with vinegar. So I'm not going to sit there and dominate something because I know ultimately I'm dominating it anyway. I'm the one pushing the shutter. I'm the one who's making the subjective decisions of which image we choose and all that sort of stuff. So it's a give and take experience. And that's a metaphor for life anyway.
Yeah. I spent a long time at Sears Portrait Studio, also Kinder Photo out of high school. So technically, Timothy, we're colleagues. Your clients were Harrison Ford, Brad Pitt, Aretha Franklin. Mine were maybe kids that came in with like a juice box and a parent maybe threatening to cancel Christmas or something.
Well, if you read the book, I mean, I spent all those years shooting Barbizon modeling schools before I started being professional. So
Barbizon. I remember that growing up in LA. I remember that. What is your surefire, as a photographer, what was your surefire move for getting a child to give you a real smile?
You know, yeah. Who was it? Was it W.C. Fields or somebody's been something about working with dogs, with animals and kids.
Right.
Was the worst thing. No, I think I think just being yourself, really, and you know, kids. It's not like. You know, I worked with Macaulay Culkin a lot. You know, I did the Home Alone movie poster and subsequent work with him. But he was a different kind of kid, and these are professional kids anyway. And the context with which we're working is professional. So it's not like I'm in the local portrait studio. You know, we're coming into an experience between us that's already preconceived in a way. It's professional. So I don't really have that thing. But you treat everybody as who they are. You know, if the kid is tantrum like, then you adapt your calm persona to deal with it. You allow it to happen. If it's different, then you try and connect on a more adult level, or at least an equal.
My final question, Timothy, and again, I could talk to you for a long time. It's so fascinating, and I've been a fan of your work for a while.
Thank you.
Fame can make someone look, enormous from a distance, right? And then you walk onto your set, the room's quiet, you realize this person carrying that giant public image, they might be shy, nervous, deeply unsure of themselves. I noticed even the most powerful, talented people have imposter syndrome. Was there a celebrity whose shyness genuinely surprised you? And how did you kind of reel that and coax that person out without forcing the performer to come out?
I'm not looking for the performer anyway. I'm looking to try and find something else. So, and again, I'm trying to look for something that's my own, because each time, I mean, people who are well known are photographed all the time. So what makes it mine? What makes it my unique experience that I can bring forth into an image? It's not just their personality, by the way. It's some people walk on a set and you go, "Oh my God, you're only 5'2". The camera makes you look like you're this 6'6" superhero. So look, the camera's an illusion anyway. Photography is an illusion. It's the tools, it's the lenses, it's the lighting, it's my point of view. It makes it very, very subjective. And so consequently, the real truth in a photograph is my truth. It's the image maker's truth. It's what we're creating by using all the tools to manufacture the illusion.
The book is Life Through My Lens. And what stays with me, Timothy, is that like after a lifetime of helping us see these extraordinary people, you've kind of given us something even more with this, and that's kind of permission to see the person behind the scene. I think that's rad, and I just loved this conversation. You ever come through the Central Coast again, find me on Insta. I'd love to hook you up with like some of our best wine on your way up to Big Sur and just shake your hand. It'd be rad.
Well, you just caught my attention. Wine.
Yeah, there you go. Let's go, baby. Where wine takes you, I do a podcast for the area's wine country, and I'd love to share it with you sometime. So thank you so much for sharing your time, and we got all the links to the show notes to the book.
Great. Adam, you were amazing. Thank you so much. Great interview.
Some say life is where it begins. Straight to the stars is where it ends. Only to start again.
And I didn't call him Jimothy one time. That is a success. Timothy, great conversation. Appreciate you a lot. Life Through My Lens available for pre-order now. We got links in the show notes. Check it out. Great conversation. Wow. I want to get him up here for some wine too. All right. Let's thank our friends Mountain Air for being Up and Adam. Appreciate them very much. They've been doing their thing for 50 years, helping locals get outside at all levels. Hiking, camping, climbing. Maybe you're going camping for the weekend. You're like, you know what? I'd love those Yeti coolers. They're a mint. I'd love a Yeti cooler for the weekend. Just need it for the weekend. Keep everything cold. Boom, you can rent one. Oh, I need a sleeping cot. I don't have a lot of camping gear. You can go rent it there. You know, they got the Switchback, buy and sell used gear. The Mountain Air, just an incredible store. They do such good work. Why would you go to REI when you got folks who are local and have been doing it for real for over 50 years? Josh and Lindsay Herring, they're great people. They're a great couple. They're great parents. They're great neighbors. Love these folks. So super exciting to have them involved. Make sure you thank them for being Up and Adam, and check out themountaineer.com. Give them a follow on Insta at least. It's completely free. And when you do go in there, let them know you heard them on Up and Adam. All right. I want to thank Moonshiner Collective for original music on the show Start Again. Trying to ink a time to get them in studio next week. They got their big Under the Moon concert series August 14th, Dairy Creek. Pretty cool. So stream them wherever you get your music. Also, moonshinercollective.com for those tickets to the Under the Moon concert series. You know this show recorded at my SlowCal studios in the heart of San Luis Obispo County, California. SlowCal, where the wine is world class, the people are real, and life is too beautiful to rush. Returns well taken. Visit slowcal.com. All right, I hope you have a great day. We're coasting towards the weekend now. Stay cool. Thanks for being here. Thanks for connecting. I'm Adam Montiel. Appreciate you a ton for being Up and Adam.
Some say life is where it begins. Straight to the stars is where it ends. Only to start again. Let's start again. We'll start again. Let's start again.